One of the biggest things I always get asked to teach the most is how do I take somebody down? 99% of the gyms all across the world do not let you learn stand-up, and if they do teach you stand-up, it's old, outdated shit from the 90s. So you're going to have to watch other people teach wrestling moves that may or may not apply to jiu-jitsu. What I've done instead is allow them to be coded within the jiu-jitsu context and teach you wrestling moves that will actually work so that you can avoid guillotines, crucifixes, and all the other usual things that you get stuck in if you are performing wrestling moves in the gym. Let's have a look. So we're going to make sure that we're always in a good stance. We're not usually using a wrestling stance. Reason being is that most people won't match your head height and they'll be easily able to stuff you into front headlock attacks and guillotines and whatever else. But also, over a long period of time, this kind of loads up your lower back, depending on how tall you are and how short your torso is, and you don't really want to load your lower back up too much. We're also not going to be doing this where we're in a judo stance like Tin Men, because we're going to get double-legged and single-legged, and it's just not going to be very useful. So we're going to go somewhere in the middle, about a 45. We're always going to be protecting our lead leg with our lead hand, no matter which lead leg you have, and then we're always going to be reaching with our rear hand. Whenever we start to come up to reach, we're always trying to gain access to the head, and when we're using our collar tie effectively, we're using a push-pull method. So I'm pushing with my forearm, and I'm pulling with my hand in the back of his head here. Don't pull at the base of the neck. Try and reach up towards where the crown of his head starts. You're not going to go all the way up here because as soon as you pull, it'll fall off. But if you pull here, it's through his back and through his spine, which is quite strong, even with spewing. So you're going to start to pull at the base of the head towards where the crown begins, and then that way when you pull, you'll actually get good purchase on this. Now, something that I was fucking up a little bit with my snap downs is when I get into this position and he goes over tie on me, I was starting to get in here and then trying to snap from here. And it doesn't matter how strong you are, how big the weight discrepancy is. If he just walks forwards as I snap him with bent arms like this, like I'm a lot stronger than him and I'm a lot heavier. And if we go, he doesn't go anywhere. So if you're snapping people with bent arms, I recommend that you don't do it. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to start to elongate our arms, and then we're going to snap from this. We've got an inside bicep tie and a collar tie on the far side. Remember, I've got these push-pull mechanics. I've got push with my forearms and pull with my hands. And that's exactly what we're going to start to try and do. If I could square him up before I did this, this would be really good. But essentially in the pull-up mechanic, it doesn't really matter all that much. So I'm going to push him towards getting extended arms, and then I'm going to flick my hands down and out towards the floor as if I was in the bathroom somewhere and that machine, the Dyson thing, was fucking broken. I'm going to shake my hands. So again, lead leg always protected, reaching for the collar tie. He goes for his collar tie, I go inside bicep. I do not try and snap him with T-Rex arms. It's not going to be effective. I'm going to stretch him out completely, not overextending myself, and then I'm going to start to pull back as I flick my hands down towards the floor. One detail I didn't mention that I did in that, but I didn't explain, is that we're going to pull our lead leg backwards as we snap. This would be disastrous. We leave our lead leg there and he snaps him into a single. So a good point of reference is that when you are snapping somebody, you're pulling them down towards the lead leg, but then you're taking the lead leg away. Then you should be getting a good snap down. Let's begin with that. Let's look at a judo variation of a snap down now, so not just using wrestling-based principles. Let's say our opponent's a little bit more upright and we're finding it difficult to create enough space to get him snapped down. Like when he was in this position beforehand, he's in a much bent over posture and we create space and we flick him through, and this is much easier. So now he's in a more upright posture. We're always going to match his posture at the same time. I want to start to get him to step forwards with his leg that I have the collar tie on, so that I can start to use Tauchis by slapping his leg with the outside of my foot. Try not to just kick them in the calf. Try and do like a scraping across the mat so that you actually get the inside of his foot just taken out completely. Once you get his foot off the mat, you're going to then snap him in the hole that you've created. So I'm going to use my collar tie, my bicep tie, to start to take his head down and around in that direction, and you'll usually get pretty decent back exposure. It won't always be as exaggerated like that. What you'll do is take this foot out and send them here, but you'll probably get an angular advantage across him in perpendicular fashion. And when he starts to raise his level again, this is when we can start to come down into double legs. We can start to come down into single legs. We can attach ourselves to rear body locks. There's a ton of really good options here. So why would you use this? You'd use this if you snapped him and he's like keeping this bolt upright posture and he's stopping you from doing it again, as opposed to him being in this posture where you can start to go to the original technique. So if he's giving you a ton of resistance in the upper body, get him to step, start to go ko-uchi, where we're going the inside of the base of the foot, right at the very lower level of the ankle. We're not going to try and go up at the knee. It's going to be very imprecise. We kick out and around and snap him in that direction. We can go body locks. We can wait for him to raise again. Then we can start to go into doubles, singles, high crotches, anything that you like. I'll let you guys finish it how you like. We're going to play a game of starting to stretch out, reaching for the wrist and slapping this down while we maintain our collar tie. Give him a couple of pumps and he'll probably re-grab to this collar tie. He'll probably give it a little bit more robustness this time. And so we're going to reach up this time. We're going to start to pummel it off our head as we dip our head, but now we're going to go into immediate offense. We're not just going to let this go this time. When I've got a thumb down grip like this, he always wants to break the grip to the weak part of my grip, which happens to be the outside, which helps my next technique selection. We could theoretically do this, but even when it's behind our head, when we're reaching up like this, it's sticky. Whereas if we reach down like this and bop our head out and away, it's actually much more efficient. As soon as we see this and he tries to take his arm out and away the wrong direction, we're going to reach up right nice and high up into the armpit with my wrist and my false grip over the back of his rear delt. I'm going to start to step to the outside as I pull his shoulder in towards my chest, and I can either double up with Sasai, or if I can reach this far hip already, I don't necessarily have to. The way that we stop this continual turn out like this is we utilize the Sasai. So he goes, I go collar tie, we bat this down. This time he gets a little bit more robust, and I start to rotate down with my thumb down grip. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately start to reach up for the back of the armpit, not the elbow, I'll slip down. Reach up for the back of the armpit. As I start to come around the corner, I'm going to reach for that near shin. You saw as he tried to turn and circle around, it was relatively ineffective. And now I can start to get into rear body locks, even here with my leg on the inside because of the Sasai. Why are you shaking? I'm not even putting weight on you.
I don't know.
You had enough sugar today?
No.
You need another Monster?
Maybe.
Fucking disgusting. Anyway, with my leg on the inside, I always have the option to go towards high ball ride because I already have a near side hook. I'm going to take my weight off spew here, but I can always climb, threading my legs over the far glute. So that way, even without upper body grips, if he tries to shake me off, it's very difficult. If I go over the near side glute, tries to shake me off, I fall off every single time. So making sure we're over that far hip is a really good idea. So we get into here, we get our collar tie. He's got a pretty loose collar tie. I'm going to slap that down and away. He's going to give it a little bit more robustness this time. I'm going to peel and dip my head, my chin to my chest. Once I've got this, he wants to take his hand out this direction, so I'm not going to let him. I'm going to go up with the false grip in the armpit. He's going to want to try and take his far hip away from me as much as possible. I'm not going to let that happen. I step to the outside, I go Sasai on the front of the shin, and then I claim my back exposure that I was after. One addition to this, if you feel like they're privy and you start to go towards here and you feel like the Sasai is too far away, you drag him, you open up this space, you start to get your eyes into his ribs, and then you pick up the single. And you can finish this any way you like. Let's give that a go. Let's have a look at another option from this thumb down grip. So when we take this grip off, we don't have to always go to the arm drag. We actually can start to circle our elbow towards the inside and then punch to underhooks. Once we punch to underhooks, as we rotate our elbow through the inside, we want to get our shoulder up underneath. I might do it on the other side because of the microphone. We take this down, we rotate our elbow down underneath. We want to get our shoulder up as high as possible. Ideally, what I would like to do is step towards the inside, but it definitely depends on where his stance is at the time. If I go to the outside of his leg, I have to be very careful of my right hip position specifically. If I'm not careful of my right hip position and I reach out this direction, my shoulders are forwards and my hips are back. That means he's got prime Uchimata territory and I'm going to get sent head over. So what I have to do is when I punch this underhook, as I rotate my arm through the middle, my main focus isn't where my hand goes, it's where my shoulder goes. Once I've got my shoulder up in this position, my hip follows, and this side of my body is very strong against the inside of his body. So now if he tries to throw me, I've got my hip check in place the entire time. Now I'm in a really good spot. What I want to do from here is use my outside hand depending on where his far leg is. If his far leg is really far away, likely it won't be because they want to counter with Uchimata. And if his leg's far away, he's never going to be able to throw me. But if it is far away and I feel like I can't reach it, or I'm going to put myself back into that position when I do reach for it, I'm always going to go near side. When I go towards the near side, I want to throw this thumb down towards the floor to pop this whizzer out.
and then I can either gain access to single legs or rear body locks. If I get to this position and his near leg's right there for the taking, I'm gonna reach anywhere between the knee and the ankle, and I'm gonna run my head across his hips. If I run this direction, I get uchimated. If I run across his hips, it's a very low likelihood that I actually get thrown. So we're gonna take this collar tie off, bobbing our head the same time. Now I'm gonna drive my elbow towards the inside and pop my shoulder up nice and high. Ideally, what I would like to happen is I step into this position. Some of the time it doesn't always happen, especially against good opponents. They're always ready to put this leg in the middle so they can throw you. Give them a hip check so that if they do try and throw you, they're just gonna run into a brick wall. Depending on where that far leg is, I can go here, I can go here. If it's too far away and he's trying to defend and try and really load me up, I go near side of the quad, I go thumb down to the floor, and I shuck that out completely. If I get left in this position, stay down. If I get left in this position, I always want to transfer my foot to the inside and step on his foot here and have my knee behind. Reason being, for jiu-jitsu specifically, I don't want him jumping onto Victor's rolls or into Kani Basami's or anything like that. So I'm always going to place set my foot on this side. Now I can start to break him down quite easily because his foot won't be able to travel with me. If I don't step on his foot and I start to bring him this way, he can always follow me. If I step on his foot, put my knee behind his knee, I can always easily spiral ride him down to the floor and then follow up from there. Let's give that a go.